Peter Yarrow of Peter, Paul, and Mary, sometimes known as Puff the Magic Dragon. And I'm hiding the great face of Rabbi Doug. Watch him. Rabbi Doug. It's a wonderful show. We're going to see Rabbi Doug. We're going to see Rabbi Doug. We're going to see Rabbi Doug on your TV tonight. But Daddy, I want to watch Monday Night Football.
Forget about Monday Night Football. There's no other thing we're going to watch on Monday but Rabbi Doug.
Yeah, Rabbi Doug on TV tonight. We're going to see Rabbi Doug.
Oh, everybody talk about Doug.
Shalom and welcome to Taped with Rabbi Doug. Glad you can be with me today. My guest today from Eretz Yisrael, from Israel, is Don Kates. He's the Director of Community Relations for Kav LaChaim, which is the Israel Center for Children with Cerebral Palsy and Cancer. Welcome to the show, Don.
Thank you very much.
And Donnie Kates is a former Chicagoan, grew up here, knew him since I was a young boy, and glad to have you back in Chicago. And why did you come to Chicago this trip particularly?
Well, this trip, I wanted to introduce to some of the people here the work of Kav LaChaim. I'm happy to say that we have an evening planned for them tomorrow night. We have some of our supporters coming, some new people, and we're explaining to them what we're doing, the work we're doing with children in Kav LaChaim, and of course asking for their help.
Center for Children with Cerebral Palsy and Cancer. Does this mean that you have a drop-in center? What is the center?
Okay.
Particularly?
The center is really is the name of it, but it's really what it is. It's an organization countrywide with 10 branches that our goal is to help children with these terrible diseases deal with it, and our main goal is to get them as healthy as possible to help, in addition, supplementing the regular medical help that they get.
Uh-huh.
And
do the families also get support, or is this strictly services for the children?
well, we feel any help we do for the children helps the families. If we have a camp for 8 days, and anybody that's had a child with a chronic illness like cerebral palsy or cancer, to give the parents an 8-day period of time where they know that the child is having a great time and the child's being taken care of properly with medical staff on present, to them that's gold. To have that 8 days off. In addition, we do a lot of day-to-day things with the children, like transporting them for treatments. Also, when a parent, for example, give you a child with CP, with cerebral palsy, even if they're in a regular school, one of the problems that we have with children of this type is they finish school at 3 o'clock or 3:30 and they have nothing to do. You know, most kids go out to what they call in Israel chugim, extracurricular activities like basketball or computers or whatever. But these children are stuck at home and they have no place to go. And all of a sudden, a 17 or 18-year-old volunteer comes and spends 2-3 hours with these children. Believe me, the parents are grateful.
Sure. How long has Kav LaChaim been in existence? Is this a new organization? I've heard of it before, but I don't know the history. Is it a new organization, or is it something that's been around for a long time?
All right, Kav LaChaim started in 1989. Our chairman, who I knew, even then, before I actually started working for Kav LaChaim, his daughter, who was diagnosed with a brain tumor, and he was told that she was going to die, and then afterwards they said, no, she's not going to die, but she's going to be blind. And he refused to accept that. He took her to America, and in America he met an organization called Chai Lifeline, which helped him greatly. And he came back to Israel with his daughter, and he decided he wanted to start an organization here, and that organization is called Kav LaChaim.
Uh-huh.
And the goal of the organization is to help people go through this terrible time.
We've featured...
I just want to add,
sure.
On the back of our newsletter is a story about the wedding of this daughter who is very much alive and is not blind.
Is not blind.
No.
Very nice. I was going to say, we've featured Chai Lifeline here on our show, and the director in the Midwest director of Chai Lifeline, who's here in Chicago. And they do a lot of work for people in the United States, Jewish families.
Right.
And Kav LaChaim, can you tell me, do they have any connection to any other organizations, or are they independent?
Well, we're independent. We were part of Chai Lifeline. Since we got as large as we did, we went off on our own. We deal with a lot of organizations within Israel. We have a very good relationship with the hospitals. Often people ask me, how do the kids find out about your camp program, for example, or our fun days, or our weekends, or whatever we do with trips. We've had groups that have gone to Switzerland. We've had groups that have gone to Turkey. We just had a group that came back from Turkey. How do they find out about it? And a lot of it's word of mouth. But a lot of it's through the social workers in the hospitals, and through social workers in the cities.
Do you have a large volunteer network?
Yes, we're basically based on volunteers. We have a few staff people, but the majority of our workers are volunteers.
You brought a video with us that we're gonna take a look at. Can you tell me what we're gonna see in the video?
You're going to see in the video a few stories of individual cases. One of the things we do, a major part of our activities, is really split into two. One is called Maher, which means Merkaz Hachbana Rufuit, which means the Center for Referral and Advice, where we have experts who give medical advice about serious medical situations. We average over 100 people, and that includes adults, that are sent outside of Israel for very special operations. And
is it because these operations aren't available in Israel?
Well, I'll give you an example. We're very Zionistic, but at the same time, if the guy in Sloan Kettering, let's say, is a cancer hospital, famous cancer hospital in New York, and the guy, they're very specialized there, and the doctor there has done 500 operations, and the one in Hadassah Hospital has done 5, and it's your child, where do you want it done? So we go, our basic policy is to try to send the child where he has the best chance of success. And sometimes these things are very expensive, and sometimes the family can't put it together financially, but we try to help them with that also.
Well, let's take a look at the video. I have a lot more questions to ask you. So stay with us here on Taped with Rabbi Doug. Take a look at Kav LaChaim in Israel.
שהגעתי למוקד מהר של קו לחיים.
הנשמה ואת הלב לתת כשאתה אוהב ואיך מוצאים את ההבדל שבין לקחת ולקבל תלמד לתת.
כן, מה הסיפור? שיחמיאו לי בבקשה את כל החומר הרפואי שיש להם, צילומים, CT, כל הדברים האחרונים שיש להם. אם הם יכולים להוציא גם מכתב סיכום מהרופא, תשאלי אותם אם הדרכונים שלהם בתוקף.
כשהלב בך נצבט מכל חיוך
קו לחיים, איזה שיגעון!
תקווה
Kates of Kav is a volunteer organization with the purpose of complementing and enhancing the services offered by the health system in its treatment of patients and their environment. The patients that stay in the Kates of Kav suites are in various stages of critical illnesses. These patients receive support from volunteers in a warm and caring environment. Through Macher, Kav LaChaim helps the patients take advantage of all the opportunities available to them. Over the last year, Macher has provided assistance in over 8,000 cases, including 112 flights.
חייל בחיל האוויר באחד הבסיסים בדרום, שסובל ממחלת כבד קשה מאוד, וזקוק להשתלה דחופה. הם כבר ניסו בכל המקומות האפשריים, דרך כל הארגונים האפשריים, דרך כל הרופאים האפשריים, והבחור מדרדר. המצב שלו הוא כזה שאם הוא לא עובר מיד השתלה אז הוא נגמר. מרגע קבלת הטלפון שלנו עד שהוא היה בפילדלפיה זה היה 25-26 שעות שהוא היה שם. הוא הגיע לשם, בדקו אותו, טיפלו בו, עיצבו את מצבו, ובליל שבת, 3 ימים אחרי זה הוא עבר ניתוח השתלה. חודשיים אחרי זה הוא חזר לפה, היום הוא חזרה חייל בחיל האוויר.
Hi, Sylvia.
Hi, how are you?
Very good. I wanted to show you the films you sent me yesterday.
Yes.
And to tell you what we suggest to do.
Okay.
And then decide what to do.
I'll send the child to you and then we'll see.
Kav LaChaim volunteers assist children in both their home and school environment.
Hey, the goal! Yeah. מגיע לקו לחיים ושמח. אתה שמח. בעולם נפלא
מלאכים גדולים לתת תקווה בעולם נפלא.
הלוואי שנוכל לסייע לכל מי שצריך סיוע. במצב היום זה 45 מיליון שקל שכולו מגיע מתרומות גם בארץ וגם בחו"ל, אבל הקושי בגיוס הכסף הולך ומתעצם כל הזמן, כי בריאות זה הדבר הכי חשוב שיש. וזה התקווה שנוכל לתת את הטיפול הטוב ביותר לכל החולים.
איזה כיף שיש המון חברים בכל מיני צבעים, תחומים שחורים ולבנים. איזה כיף שיש כאלה חברים, איזה כיף שיש המון חברים בכל מיני צבעים, תחומים שחורים ולבנים. איזה כיף שיש כאלה חברים, איזה כיף שיש כאלה חברים, איזה כיף שיש כאלה חברים.
Welcome back. It looks like the kids are having fun.
Well, we believe that, number one, fun is very important. It helps motivate the children. It gives them a feeling that they can be strong. There's a lot of famous studies that have been done on what they call mind-body. The famous author, Dr. Bernard Siegel, who's written about that. We believe in that. If a child develops a strength of attitude, adults too, actually, and they're able to fight the illness, and I think most importantly, when a volunteer comes to visit a child who's sick at home or in the hospital, they get the feeling that besides their family, somebody else cares, and I think that's worth a lot in a child's battle for health.
Now, you are a charitable organization. People support Kav LaChaim. People volunteer for Kav LaChaim. Is your network outside of Israel large as far as supporters?
Well, we developed over the past few years, and only a few years, a nonprofit organization. It's based in New York. We have an office in New York,
and it's directly with your organization.
Right. We do the office. There are actually 2 offices in New York. One's in New York, one's in Brooklyn. The one in Brooklyn handles families that come from Israel. For somebody that speaks English to go to an American hospital is not a problem. But if some child who knows no English, his parents know no English, and the child
very little,
and they're sent to the States for an operation, it's like dropping them into Mars. They don't, So we have an office there that one office handles totally the medical side of walking them through, just to get them into the right hospital and the operation or whatever it is. And the other office is an office that's trying to find supporters, trying to find help.
Very nice. You mentioned to me before the show that, and it's in your newsletter, that Kav LaChaim has their own ambulances, and we know that because we just also featured Magen David Adom, the Israel Emergency Services. they are the ambulances of Israel. Are your ambulances Magen David Adom ambulances, or are they Kav LaChaim ambulances?
There are ambulances.
How does that work?
There are ambulances, but our ambulances are tuned into what they call the band. I guess in English the translation is the band of Magen David Adom. Unfortunately, as you know, in the past couple years we've had what we call pikuim in Israel, terrorist attacks, and a few times on television I've seen just sitting at home watching television about the pigua. I've seen our ambulances on the spot because they get a call, they go out for it. Now, the other thing we do with our ambulances, a lot of what we do is we take children to treatments. Transportation, especially children with wheelchairs where you need special kind of transportation, is very expensive. And for a family where a kid's going 3 times a week, and it's such and such amount of shekels, but it's a lot. That's a very big help. One of the problems we have is that some of the children who live in places where they have to go through territories or have to go through places where it's difficult or dangerous, people are afraid to drive, so that creates so the current situation of what's going on in Israel today, I think, affects just children who have illnesses. And the other thing I want to point out is that we're speaking about the situation, we've gotten very involved in the past 2.5 years, in addition to children with illnesses, children injured in terrorist attacks. They're in the departments in the hospital, and we have a Hanukkah party. We do with them also. We take them on trips and special trips, and we've done this with several families, and we continue to do that.
Your organization obviously caters to children who are terminally ill often, and we know that in America, it's famous, the Make-A-Wish Foundation, where they grant children's wishes who are terminally ill to do something they always wanted to do or would never be able to afford to do or be healthy enough to do. Do you have a Make-A-Wish type thing?
First of all, we try not to use the word terminal because as medical science is getting greater, we have always a better chance with all the new different methods of saving children, especially if you get, with adults too, early detection. And more the percentage of people who are being saved. So we try not to. And the second of all, we have a policy of never giving up. We do not give up. But we have several cases where our medical advisors, I mentioned the medical advisory staff, found sometimes in a place outside of Israel, not always in the United States, mostly in the United States, but not always in the United States, where there's a specialist that could do a certain operation. And we've had a few times where some of the doctors or some of the medical people that they've talked to, the people were ready to give up, and we didn't give up, and the child is alive today. So we don't use we try not to use the word terminal. It happens, of course. There are children and adults that die from these diseases, but we try to keep as positive as possible and not give up. That's number one policy.
It's a good attitude to have, because
we try to get that attitude.
And we always believe in the nace and the miracle. Right. We always say the Mishaberach. We pray for people to be healed. Miracles happen, and certainly that's a good attitude. If you just joined us, I'm with Donnie Kates. He's the Director of Community Relations for Kav LaChaim, the Israel Center for Children with Cerebral Palsy and Cancer and other diseases and other ailments. Right. And Donnie is a former Chicagoan. Donnie, why did you move to Israel to begin with? How did you get up you grew up in Chicago. This was your home. What made you pick up and move?
That's a whole other show. But I grew up in an organization called B'nai Akiva. I went to Camp Moshe La. As you did. And that influenced me greatly. I went to Israel for the first time on a B'nai Akiva program after high school. Hachshara. And when I was there that year was when I made that decision. I said, this is my home, this is where I want to be. It took a few years, but we're there. What can I say? I feel that's the place for the Jewish people.
And your mother and your father of blessed memory also moved to Israel, is that not correct?
Well, my father just recently passed away. My mother is there, a few blocks away from us. All my sisters are there. So we were a real B'nai Akiva religious Zionist family.
It's wonderful, it's wonderful.
And we're happy to be there. It's not easy, especially the last 2.5 years. It's been very difficult. I have a son that is just finishing the army, and he went through his things. I have 2 daughters in Jerusalem, and if there's a terrorist attack in Jerusalem, till I get them on the phone, till I know they're okay, it's very difficult.
I'm sure it is.
But we're happy to be there.
What does Kav LaChaim, the organization that you're with, what do they actually do as far as outreach. Israel is not a 5 square mile country, and you say you have offices all over. How do you get involved in the community and get people in the community involved who need your services?
Well, a lot of it's word of mouth. We deal with the hospitals. We deal with the social work departments. In each community there is, for example, I'll give you an example. We have a very active branch in a place really kind of far away from everybody else. It's called Kiryat Shmona, all the way at the north, if you know your geography. And
Kiryat Shmona is famous for those who might be familiar with the name and not realize where it is. That's where the missiles, when the Lebanese incursion in the war in Lebanon took place, is because of terrorist missiles going over the border from Lebanon into Kiryat Shmona, which is one of the most northern cities in Israel.
The biggest northernmost city in Israel. And we have a very active branch there, and they're very involved in the community. Well, that's true. For example, Jerusalem, which is much bigger, we're in 5 hospitals throughout Jerusalem, and very active in a variety of community things, and basically by word of mouth. We try, and it's kind of more my department, is getting ourselves known, and one of the best ways to do that is to get on TV in Israel, which we've been on a few times. We have had concerts. We've been in the newspapers. People get to know us. And,
sure.
And when they know that they have there's a child, I still to this day, even though I'm not really in the medical side, it's not really my department, but I still get a call every couple of weeks from somebody that they have an uncle, a cousin, a brother, a nephew, somebody who was just diagnosed with such and such disease. How do they get a second opinion, or someone will call up and say, listen, this doctor was recommended to me to do the surgery on my relative. Could you find out what the reputation of this doctor is? Is this the right doctor? Maybe we should send it to somebody else.
So a lot of those referral service.
A lot of referrals.
How many people, you say there are a few professionals, how many people are actually involved in the organization, professionals and volunteers together, would you say, throughout Israel?
Believe it or not, I think staff-wise, I think we have about 7 or 8. Full and part-time, I'm not sure all of them are full-time. But volunteers, we're talking over 1,000 volunteers. So if you count everybody, just give you an example, at our camp, which is an 8-day event, this past year we had 374 children, and it's not like a regular camp where you have one madrich, one advisor for 10 children. It's usually 1-to-1. A child with CP in a wheelchair needs their own madrich. And between all the madrichim and all the technical staff and the medical staff, we always have doctors and nurses on staff, you're talking almost an equal amount of staff. So that's right there. That's over 700 people at the camp. And each one has got to get fed, each one has to have a place to sleep, each one has to have all the other amenities. So, for example, our camp itself is just, it's a huge undertaking.
Are there any government funds that actually help support Kav LaChaim?
Okay, we've gotten a few times government funds. The last time was about 3 or 4 years. We right now have an application we're supposed to be getting, as far as I know. So since I left Israel a few days ago, we hadn't gotten. We don't get as much as we get a lot of blessings and a lot of good wishes. But if you know anything about the medical situation in Israel, financially, there's always pressure, and we're not always the first one to get. I would say the majority of our funds are from private donations. We try foundations. We try to cover our interests. We do one policy, which is very important, is we do not charge the parents. Sometimes they'll give a donation, but basically, families with chronically and seriously ill children are usually strapped because they have a lot of extra expenses that the normal families don't.
Does Israel has nationwide medicine, and they have a called Kupat Cholim, and I wanted to know about this because everybody talks about that Canada has it, Israel has it, all these places. The United States does not have it. Do you think a government funded medical insurance and medical facilities, as Kupat Cholim is controlled by the government, do you think that they are helping people such as this enough, as much as they could, or is there really a lot of politics involved where people need to go outside of Kupat Cholim to be taken care of when you have a chronically ill child?
I don't know that I'm really qualified to answer that, but I think it works we have a lot of good doctors in Israel and a lot of good staff. The system somehow has to be revised. I don't know exactly now. I do know that there are some excellent doctors in Kupat Cholim. Sometimes they get pressed for time. If you have a bunch of people waiting, oftentimes, I'm speaking more personally than at Kav LaChaim, sometimes you have the feeling that you're getting rushed out. That, like here, if you pay for the time, but just like any place like here, people want to go private. They pay. You get the time like you would with a regular doctor. But I have my family has had, actually from the doctor's point of view, have had very good experiences with our doctors. Over the years, thank God we haven't had
too many problems.
Right. Well, we went through it with my father, and overall, I think the doctors were quite good. But the system, I think certainly needs constant evaluation and revision.
Absolutely. Well, Kav LaChaim has been around since 1989. What do you expect the growth of Kav LaChaim? What do you think that they will grow into or do in the future that they're not doing now? What do you think their
one
future
of the
goals are?
big project that we just now in the middle of opening up a new recovery hostel for children with cancer. We bought a building, and we're now in the middle of equipping it. The idea of the recovery hostel for children with cancer is that children who are come to Jerusalem, which a lot of them do because there's excellent hospitals there, for treatments, have a place to stay. They don't have to schlep back to where they're from. They don't have to stay in hotels. And we're just now getting into that. And this is a gorgeous building, and it has really a lot of potential to really be a center for weekends, for retreats, for families who have an ill person, whether it be a child or in this room in the old hostel we had adults also. I think that's a very, very big thing. We have dreams, we've had plans of retreat centers, of a camp and this kind of thing, but those numbers and the money that's needed for that is a little bit past us right now, but we do talk about it from time to time.
Very nice. Well, I want to wish you so much success in the future. What a wonderful endeavor Kav LaChaim is, the Israel Center for Children with Cerebral Palsy and Cancer and Other Illnesses. And I just wish you much success in your endeavors as their Community Relations Director. And I want to thank you for coming and being on the show today. I know you're very busy in your short trip to Chicago, visiting your old friends and doing the work you're here to do. And thank you, Donnie Kates, for being with us. I want to thank you for being with us every week. There'll be more information about Kav LaChaim at the end of the show. If you want to get a hold of them, you can email us or email them. And I'm sure Donnie will be happy to answer your questions. Remember, we're on every week at this time. Thanks again for being with us here on Taped with Rabbi Doug. Thanks again for joining us, Donnie Kates, representative of Kav LaChaim, and hope to see you next time. Shalom.
ירושלים גילו בה כל אוהבי הכל אוהבי עשיסו את ירושלים גילו בה כל אוהביה עשיסו את ירושלים גילו בה כל אוהבי הכל אוהבי עשיסו את ירושלים גילו בה כל אוהביה יפוצו מסנר, עשיסו את ירושלים